Welcome to Marketing with Confidence. I'm your host, Marianne Amies. We're going to be talking all things digital and online marketing for business owners and marketing professionals. If you've been feeling overwhelmed by your digital marketing, be sure to listen along and you'll hear tips, interviews and more that will give you the confidence to create marketing you love. I'm so excited to be joined today by Tony Bonney from Grow on Purpose. Tony works with people and organizations to help them be the best version of themselves. Thanks so much for joining me today, Tony.
Marianne, it's really lovely to be asked to be with you today. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. So, Tony, to start off, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you found your passion for impacting leaders.
I'm wondering if it found me, actually, Marianne, is the truth of it. So I've always been on a journey of trying to understand why people like what they like, connect to what they connect to, what are the things around them that help them light up and feel as though they're doing what they ought to be doing, and how they therefore find their tribes, the others they want to connect to through that activity. It started right at the very beginning of my career when I was working as a rock and roll agent for Michael Gininsky and the Mushroom Group, and helping bands find fans. Why does a fan love this band as opposed to this band? What happens, for that to happen? And when they connect to that band, what's the view of themselves that forms in relation to that, and what's the tribe they start to connect to, and how does that start to layer their life? And so I've just been in a career-long exploration of that. And the kind of the punchline is that if you can help an individual or an organization really be clear about who they want to be, how they want to show up every day, they then can consistently do that. And by doing that, they can attract the people they want to sell to, they can attract the people that they want to have work for them. It just becomes a lot easier to do all the things you want to do just by being who you naturally should be.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I know from other conversations with you, the other benefit is you just enjoy it more, when you find your purpose and when you're doing the work that you love, you're also so personally fulfilled and you have better conversations, you find that alignment. And I think, coming from a digital marketing perspective, we're always talking about alignment, when you can talk in a way that completely identifies with another party, they feel so aligned to you. And I imagine by doing this work with leaders, you're helping them to be clearer on themselves and then to have more aligned, genuine, real value conversations.
It's incredibly true what you've just said, and it's also the reason why the work isn't for everyone. There are some leaders that are very, very happy being inside the vineyard, and it works for them. And I respect that. Everyone's got, everyone does what they need to do, I suppose. But if you think about it like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that triangle, if you can, I find that if I can help a leader just to get beyond the hunter-gathering piece, and start to think about the ways in which they might be able to self-actualize for themselves, what that potential could actually do for releasing stuff into their personal life and also for their teams, how they can just actually be far more content and feel like they're standing in their integrity in whatever role they're playing. I just find if I can actually get them looking upwards from wherever they are in that hierarchy of needs, you start to find a more fulfilled person, or at least a person that if they're not overly happy in the work they're doing, they're really conscious of the reason why they've decided to stay there, and so they're making decisions rather than having life happen to them.
Which is beautifully empowering as well. And I guess gets people out of that victim mentality of, I'm stuck in a job I hate versus I'm in a job that I don't love because X, Y, Z. And, this is why I've made this commitment for a certain period of time or whatever it might be.
Yeah. And I think it gets, I've got a live situation with a leader that I've been working with now for a couple of years and working with his whole team at his organisation. And it's a great growth story. I mean, they've been growing 25% year on year now for the last 4 years. So the work we're doing in terms of enabling them to engage in the marketplace it's killing it. But this leader, was really at a crossroads for themselves a couple of years ago. Getting this growth, but global company and the global head office is giving me a hard time, and they're not giving me the kudos I deserve, and it's really easy for us to start to lose sight or connection between why did I come here in the first place and what are my current conditions. And he was able to see that, in fact, once we had a proper conversation in relation to it, that sort of 80% of what he actually wants for himself is in the role that he's in.
Yeah, wow.
And in any situation we're in, there's always going to be an element of stuff we can't control.
Yeah.
And you just got to understand that that's going to be true, no matter where you are. And what that leader was able to do was actually go, well, in fact, my decision to be here is actually supported by the evidence, that I'm getting most of what I want in terms of what I look for in a role. And where else would I be that I would have actually only 20% of, things not in place, even working for myself, believe me, I don't get 100% job satisfaction. So, I just think there's, if you can be really clear on what your drivers are, what it is that you're really trying to show up to do every day, the things you're trying to pay attention to in terms of your personal needs, if you can really be clear on your connection between that and where it is or isn't in your role, you can really make great decisions about staying, going, growing, whatever it is you need to do. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Awesome. Well, as a CEO of your own business, I wanted to ask you about that balance of working on your business and working in your business. How do you manage that?
Terribly.
Love the honesty.
So here's the thing. I've had to get a lot better at scheduling time to enable me to actually do the deeper thinking I need to do, both on behalf of my clients, but also for myself.
Yeah.
There's a guy called Cal Newport, and I think I've mentioned him to you before, Marianne. He's an academic from Georgetown University that talks about how to set the conditions for deeper thought, so that we can actually get to places where true innovation, true creativity can take place. And I found that if I leave it to chance, the truth is my diary will fill with tasks.
Yeah.
And because I've been terrible, I've had to, come up with a plan. And I have to say, I think it's really working. I use Mondays is generally now a completely meeting-free day, unless there's just something that hasn't been able to fit somewhere else for a customer. But apart from that, it's completely free. And I truly let myself drift. Right? So, here, what are the major things I'm thinking about at the moment and working on, and how might I get there today? And I get there in all kinds of ways. Yeah. Doing the laundry, picking the kids up from school. I know these things sounds weird, but it's that idea of if I am not just trying to drill down into a task, my mind can wander and the most amazing things emerge. And we, as an organization, in the work that we do, so in Grow, we're thinking all the time about how we can bring to life that best version of our customer. This is what they think their best self is. So what's that version? How do we articulate that for them? And then how do we bring that consistently into the experience of their customers and their teams? So that's the challenge every single day. Yeah. I just find that if we are sitting at the surface level of thinking about that, we just come up with the typical responses, So we have so that idea of working on the business actually helps me to be much better at actually getting the work in the business so much better. Yeah. So I just think there's a leader, you've got to schedule that time when you just can't be bothered by anything else.
And I've had a few similar conversations on the podcast before with Dr. Marion Piper, who's a sort of creativity coach in some ways, and Karen Hollenbach, that's a LinkedIn expert. Had the conversations with both of them about my own challenges being quite task-orientated, to accept the non-productive work for actually how productive and the, ideas the synthesization of ideas, the room for your mind to wander, exactly what you said, and for your subconscious to solve the problems because you've let go of them and you're not forcing them. And you're right, that benefits both the business and the client work as well. I feel, and I've touched on this before, it's a space I need to get really comfortable with, of letting go of, sitting in front of a screen, being active, feeling productive, inverted commas, productive, because there's so much I can benefit. And I'm sure other people listening are the same from the white space, the just letting it go and giving yourself space to develop.
I think I couldn't agree with all of that more. The role of procrastination in the creative process is huge, I know that I was frightened by it for a long time. I thought as though I'm not really getting anything done. It's actually just buying into it. There is a point in time actually when you do need to do something.
Have a serious conversation with yourself.
While you're designing the greatest lawnmower, at some point in time the lawn needs to be mowed. You know what I mean? So it's just so that there's truth you've got to get going. But if you give yourself the space to not be mowing the lawn, you're ready to mow it when you're ready to go. Do you know what I mean? So I think all of that letting go stuff is great, and I wonder to the degree that you get to as you get a bit older and you start to understand it. I think the biggest challenge, though, for CEOs, particularly owners of their businesses, is actually allowing your team to have the same freedom. And what does that now look like in terms of allowing someone to manage their own time? And this, for me, this is where actually the hybrid workplace, where you're working, it's a nonsense conversation. It's actually for me is, who are you as a person? What are you trying to achieve with your life? Therefore, why do you want to give your service to this place, and how are we going to organise for that to happen? That's a much better conversation than I need to see you in the office, or you need to work these hours, or whatever else it might happen to be. Yeah,
no, completely. And I think you're so right, giving your team that space and acknowledging their need to have the thinking time and not put that pressure of, the productive time only, and really making sure that what we're trying to foster in ourselves, we're also trying to foster in others. It's a really good point.
Yeah. And because you've got to walk the talk, haven't you? That's the thing. Damn it.
But I just want days off, and I want everyone else to do the work. That's awesome. And what about a morning habit? Do you we hear a lot about the morning habits are what make or break CEOs. Do you have morning habits that set you up for success?
I really appreciated you sharing that question with me in advance, and I laughed my head off because my morning habit is my son rolling, because he's always in my bed by the morning, rolling over, Dad, it's time to get up yet? Is it time to get up? Like wait, and it's 5:15 or something like that.
Yes.
My morning habit is a very, very strong cup of coffee.
Yes.
And trying to keep my children happy until it's time for them to go to school. And that's I just think that if anything, what I've had to come to be much better at is actually just like we're talking about letting go.
Yeah.
Like it just actually as a person, letting go of anything to do with me, Tony Bonney, and my career and so forth before 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
And so my habit is I actually let myself do whatever I need to do until 9:15, and then 9:15 is my start time. And then because I work mainly from home, I live in Hobart in Tasmania. We moved down here so I could do these sorts of things.
Yeah.
When the kids come home, I want them to be able to walk in and out of the room. So I'm not trying to do deep thought at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm doing whatever I need to do. But I really try and concentrate and focus my efforts between sort of that 9:15 and 4 o'clock. And it's amazing what you can get done when you're ready to work. And you just get going in that time frame. It's quite extraordinary, actually.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. I also have early riser children, and so many people promised me they would grow out of it. And my son's about to be a teenager, and he's still routinely awake from 5-ish. He'll tell me about the books he's read. They're both early risers, and I am not by nature an early riser. So my morning routine consists, they've gotten better at leaving me alone as they've gotten older, but my morning routine used to consist of a lot of crankiness about the fact I was being woken up.
Look, unfortunately, there's probably plenty of that too.
Yeah, but to your point, you lightly touched on the coffee does, whether it actually works or it's just the psychosomatic effect of smelling and drinking it, the coffee does definitely help.
I'll take whatever it is that's actually going on there. That's totally fine by me.
Exactly right. Right.
Yeah.
So thinking about, your real focus and your real passion is helping people to discover the best version of themselves. Why is that important for CEOs, especially today?
Okay, so I think there's a few things going on there, and this is the reason why it's not for everybody, right? So I've had to understand that as well. So let's just talk about the silent resignation, that's in the workforce. You've got people turning up that are just turning up in whatever way they are, whether it be digitally or whatever, and they're doing what they're prescribed to do. They're logging off, they're getting their pay. Right? Well, what's the CEO going to do about that? Do you know what I mean? Where do you? How can you actually change that? And it's not just my view. Simon Sinek started with why. There's so much evidence about this now. So I'm not a voice in the wilderness. But if you can't be really clear about what's important to you, and then Fred Kaufman talks about it as a concept of essential integrity. If you can't be really clear about what's important to you and what you're showing up to do every day, and then if you can't help your team to do that as well, then don't be surprised that people are sitting around disaffected inside your organization. If you want your team to be engaged in the work and engaged in the purpose of the organization, you need to be engaging them in it through your example and what you're about in the very first instance. So it means you've got to integrate something. You've got to actually look at your gaps. You've got to look at the things you're doing great. You've got to understand how to amplify those. You've got to understand how to work on the other things that are not so terrific. You've got to see your blind spots where you're being conscious and where you're being unconscious. And if you start to do that and start to bring that into the practice of your team, it's extraordinary what happens is because they actually know who's going to turn up to work every day. They know who their leader is. They know how to engage with them. They feel psychologically safe to say the things that need to be said, etc. So in my view, of course, because my organisation offers it, but I think I think the evidence is deep now. The evidence is deep now that if a CEO can't stand for something, then their team can't stand for anything either. And so that's why I think it's a critical bit. But what the CEO stands for has got to really be sustainable, right? They're gifting their service to the organisation for a reason. Can they name what those reasons are? If they're only financial, that's fine, but at least that's the reason, right? But, what are their personal drivers? Why that work? Why that sector? If they can't answer those questions for themselves, then in fact, how do they know they're in the right place for themselves? What does fulfillment look like for themselves? And there's no way they can explore that for their teams if they can't explore it for themselves.
No, and how do you inspire other people to be their best if you're not actually at your best? Knowing what your best looks like.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we all know leaders that talk the talk and don't walk the walk. And it seems sniffing a mile off. And people are looking around. Particularly in this quasi-COVID environment, they're looking around for work that has meaning. Society is challenging, and they don't want to be in a role that they don't feel is actually doing something more for them than actually attending to their financial needs. I think the way I view it and talk about it with leaders is like this. There's certainly when I started in the workforce, I was grateful for my job.
Yes.
And I did whatever the boss needed because the boss was what was going to keep me in my job. It was that simple, right? It's completely different now. Young people are deciding to gift their service to you for a period of time. Might be 3 months, might be 3 years, who knows? but they're deciding to gift it for a period of time for a range of things, and salary is only one of them.
Yeah.
You know, if they want to know how you're going to help them grow. They want to know what kind of experiences you're going to enable them to undertake. They're wanting to know the ways in which you're going to help their CV look better, so that the next jobs, you know, you're actually helping them get a better job.
Yes.
You know, and if you're not able to understand the ways in which working for you as a leader is attending to all of those things, then you're not competitive. So again, you know, you've got to really be clear on those things for yourself, so you can actually understand how you can release that value to your team.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there is a massive shift, as you know, as a CEO or as a business owner, that needs to take place in that staffing space. And I know myself, you know, having run a fairly small size agency for years, I've had staff come for 18 months, maybe 2 years, probably not, and then go off to the bigger agency. And for a long time, I sort of resented it. I didn't want to be the stepping stone. I wanted to be the place to come. And it's funny, just in the last 6 months, and I sort of touched on this on a LinkedIn post a little while ago, I've actually recognized that my role is to give these young marketers a step up, you know, and actually reframing it for myself and changing my mindset on it makes me feel really warm and really positive, and again, sort of almost contributes to another part of my leadership and what I'm passionate about, and thinking, hey, I've got this opportunity to shape some young marketers so that they can go and work in a big agency or go take on a big brand job. And if I get them for 18 months and, you know, they can look back at some point in their life and remember me as a great leader or a great mentor, you know, that's pretty nice as well. And it doesn't matter that I didn't, you know, the 5 and 10 years service is A, unheard of now, but B, also from the employer's point of view, there is something good about new blood as well, because people do get complacent, people switch off, people go through the motions of turning up, doing the bare minimum, or, you know, and having that opportunity to have fresh blood is a benefit as well for us on the other side.
It's so great to hear you say all of that, Marianne. I just think that's so insightful, and I just think you're on the money. You know, and you know, isn't it freeing? I mean, it does. Yeah. It means it does mean your role as leader is quite a different thing.
Yeah.
You know, I've owned for a very long time an event company called Podium, and the way Podium and Grow work together is Grow does all the thinking and all the creation and the strategic work, and Podium does all of the execution into client and customer experience and customer team experiences. At one point in time, Podium was a very traditional agency, 25 people working for it, all that kind of stuff. And I did also, you know, I was getting good tenure, but people would go somewhere else. And we were one of the bigger agencies at that point in the event space, but they'd go somewhere else. And at first it was like, why would you want to go to them? And then, but then I started to realize, in fact, that the feedback I was getting from my competitors was like Podium was like the kind of the best training ground in the industry. You know? And so we want your people and we'll pay lots of money to get them. And I kind of went, well, it's amazing then I'm actually holding people for 2, 3, 4 years at less salary, and they're staying here. Why? And they were staying here because the organisation had a view, which was, we're going to help you be great. We're going to help you be really, really great operators. And when you do get another job, you get a lot of money that I won't be prepared or able to pay you, you know?
Yeah. But again, like, what a beautiful legacy.
Yeah.
For yourself and in that company, and for the staff that work for you there. Like, I think about my various corporate roles and the people I worked for, and there's people that, you know, there's fewer bosses and managers that I cherish those experiences, and somewhere I was treated so poorly and worked in atrocious, you know, big brand names and was treated atrociously. And I think, no, like I pretty much have a relationship with 95% of my staff that, you know, there's a couple that sure, you know, we parted ways and that was it. But no, I would say 95% I stay in touch with, and I'm following their journey. And I think it's so lovely to think that they'll look back and likewise for you with those at Podium and go, that career experience, you know, that was a great place to work. That was a great boss to have. You know, that's
I'm not sure they'd agree with that last bit, but anyway.
For you or for me, Tony? For me.
No, me.
For me. Wow.
But it is really, it's really like, at a more advanced stage of my career, to be able to look around the sector and go, oh, well, that leader was one of my team, and that leader was one of my team, and they're all in senior roles, and they're all really experienced and highly desirable people, in the sector. And you go, it's great. So you're right. What a wonderful legacy. There's no doubt about that. Yeah. No doubt about that. Mm.
Oh, beautiful. Well, thank you so much. You've given such wonderful insight into, why we need to kind of it's the hard work, really, isn't it? Do that hard work and make sure that we know what we stand for so we can lead an organization and to the better engagement of our people as well. It is so valuable. And the truth is that the employment market has shifted so much already, and I imagine, it will continue to shift in the next 12 months and beyond. Everything is always changing, and, that opportunity to turn up to work and actually really love it, whether you're at the top or the bottom, we spend so much of our time there. It is just so critical.
I couldn't agree more. And, one last parting thought, which is that, we're in times of enormous flux, which I think we're just going to be in.
Yeah.
Right? So I think, in fact, COVID proved to us that we were in some kind of dream state that change wasn't really happening, But, the truth is change is happening all the time. The only thing you can consistently rely upon is, and turn up every day is, what you're trying to pay attention to be the person you want to be. That's the only thing you can control. And so the great thing about that is success at the end of the day is I've actually done what I think I need to do to be the person I want to be. So you can own that entirely.
Yeah.
And if you get that right, the differentiation's enormous because there's only one of you. So your ability to actually be, a killer leader, a very, very attractive prospect for for the kind of roles you want to have, and to gather people around you simply because actually you're uniquely and sustainably you. Yeah. So thanks for the opportunity to share all those ideas, Marianne. I really do appreciate that.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. And thanks for your time, Tony. I do encourage everyone to follow you on LinkedIn, and I will share links to your profile as well, because you also put out really valuable content. So thank you again for your time. And I hope everybody enjoys this conversation.
Thank you so much, Marianne.
Hey, thanks for listening to another episode. If you don't want to miss one, make sure you subscribe to the show in your podcast app. And if you love it, be sure to share it with friends and colleagues who you think could benefit from increasing their digital marketing confidence. Want more? Head to marianneamies.com to find out how you can work with me directly, to reach out to have me speak at your event, or to grab yourself some free resources.